Okay, so this is my PowerPoint on exercise behaviours. Firstly, I'm going to go through theoretical model of behaviour change. This is a model that consists of 5 branches leading to the change of your behaviour from being physically inactive to active. The first stage of this model is you're at pre-contemplation. This is when you have no thought to participate in physical activity and you don't feel the need to change your behaviour to participate. You then move on to the stage in which you are getting ready, contemplation, with the intention to change your behaviour, but you are yet to really get that change going. The next stage is preparation, and this is when you are now ready to change your behaviour, but with steady engagement. You've gained the social strength to tell your friends and family about your intention to train and change your behaviour. You then move on to the action stage, when you are now engaged in the change. However, you need to keep up the consistency of your new change and exercise behaviour, as reversibility is still a possibility. Finally, you move on to the maintenance stage, and this is now your behaviour has completely changed and you participate in physical activity frequently. However, you still need a change to keep your excitement and keep away the tedium. You share your experience with others who may also be participating, or you may show how your behaviour has changed to close family and friends. Reversibility and its causes are factors you are aware of as you want to stay away from them. So the first scenario will fit this model is scenario 1. Graham is 35 and at first was only interested in watching football on the TV. He thought that there was no need for him to get involved in the practical side. So at this stage he is at pre-contemplation, as he has no intention to change his behaviour. However, recently a close friend has been diagnosed with heart disease due to how little exercise he did. So Graham started appreciating what the positives would be if he did change his behaviour and how he may benefit physically. So now Graham is appreciating the positives due to his friend's recent physical illness, so he is at the contemplation stage. After time, Graham becomes ready to engage in activity, as he sees himself also getting ill like his friend if he doesn't become active. His family are worried that Graham will end up with a serious health condition like his friend, so he feels it would be a good idea to tell his family he is going to change his behaviour. Graham is at the preparation stage now, as he has decided he wants to partake in exercise and is going to tell his family about his decision to change. A week later, Graham has begun his behaviour change and is participating in sport every now and then. However, he feels he needs to challenge himself in order to keep his enjoyment and consistency levels high. So Graham has hit the stage of action and has begun participating in sport, but is not yet consistent enough to have been at the maintenance stage. But he knows what he needs to do to partake more frequently. He is only at the action stage, as reversibility can still occur if he isn't consistent enough. A month has now passed and Graham's behaviour has changed completely. He frequently participates in football. He still, however, sets himself a challenge to get rid of tedium and keep the chance of him stopping and his chances being reversed away. Finally, Graham is at the maintenance stage of his journey and has completely changed his behaviour, exercising frequently. However, something like a serious injury may set him back all the way to the start. The next model is the health belief model. This is a table for it, but it mainly consists of these 4 parts that predict behaviour that increase or decrease the likelihood of us exercising. So firstly, we have perceived threats, and there are 2 branches to the perceived threats. Perceived susceptibility is when you link the individual to the risk that they face when exercising. This may be injury, embarrassment, or low self-esteem. And then there is perceived severity. This is realising the seriousness of the risks and how the injury may affect them long term, stop them being mobile and stutter, make difficult everyday life. Perceived threats is considered the least powerful predictor of behaviour, as it does not take into account the reasons people do want to exercise. So we move on to benefits and barriers, and this predictor of behaviour also weighs up the advantages as well as the negatives to participate in exercise, making it a stronger predictor of behaviour than the perceived threats. The advantages could be such as how the individual wants to decrease the risk of disease or realise the susceptibility of a certain action, reducing the risk of health problems. So that would be the benefits. However, there are barriers that will reduce the willingness for the individual to change. These are negative influences such as how participating may cause you injury or pain. This could be mentally or physically, as you may be embarrassed to exercise if you feel people make fun of you. However, at times these barriers are easily avoidable and you can reassure yourself, such as by exercising out of sight from others so you don't feel anxious you're being made fun of. Next slide, cues to action. It is the idea the health belief model introduced that triggers are needed to set individuals on their way to exercise. Cues to action also contains two factors, internal and external. The internal cues to action are what the individual does to themselves, what the individual does to promote their change. Usually psychologically, this may be doing things such as setting themselves a goal that reminds you why you need to keep exercising and changing your behaviour. External cues to action are usually an event or person you exercise for or with that motivates a change. A strategy for this could be doing a sponsorship event. You may do this alone or with others, but if people have donated to you, you have to participate or you face letting them and the charity, the donations you go to down, and you are held accountable for this. Self-efficacy is the final part of the health belief model and is briefly the specific confidence the individual has to be able to commit to their change and exercise behaviour. It determines you are about achieving the change and having the ability to believe you have the ability to overcome all these barriers and perceived threats, all the negatives of the health belief model. It's a good idea for the individual to plan short, medium and long-term targets when changing their exercise behaviour. So here is scenario 2. Nicole is a 35-year-old woman who looks after 2 kids and has a job. She wants to get back into badminton and a sport she played back when she was at school. However, she feels that she won't have enough time to exercise due to her job and looking after her 2 kids. She also is worried about if she receives a serious injury, having kids and a job to do with an injury that can harden the prospect of everyday life and stress her out a lot. Despite this, she wants to get back into exercise as her family has hereditary heart problems in the past and she feels participating in exercise will reduce the chance she has of inheriting the heart disease. Nicole feels that she could push herself by doing a charity event for people who suffer with heart disease and aim for a certain amount of money to be raised. Being a previous badminton player when she was younger, Nicole knows she has the correct ability to start playing again. So firstly, Nicole suggested that having a job and looking after 2 kids is a barrier to her exercising as she won't have the time to do it. However, she also introduced how she may benefit from exercising if she does partake. This is also part of benefits and barriers. In between talking about the barrier and the benefit of exercising, Nicole indicated the prospect of her getting an injury that will stop her from normally going through everyday life, hardening the task of doing the shopping and picking her kids up from school. This has indicated the predictor of behaviour perceived threats, as she has linked herself into getting an injury, the perceived susceptibility, and then talked about how serious the injury may become at perceived severity. Nicole has introduced internal and external cues to action as she wants to keep motivated by creating an external charity event that is close to her, whilst also creating an internal goal for how much money she would like to raise. The final sentence indicates how Nicole has the self-efficacy to change her behaviour as she is motivated by the fact that she has previously been a big fan and player of badminton before. This is theory of planned behaviour. Theory of planned behaviour is one of the most predictive behaviour change theories as it uses our intention to change and figure out how our behaviour could be next. It shows that if we plan to carry out an action, we usually go through with that decision. This theory links towards 3 attitude manipulators introduced by Agnew in 1985. Behaviour attitudes, subjective norms, and the perceived behaviour control. Behaviour attitudes is simply how someone feels about another's behaviour and whether that behaviour affects you positively or negatively. Again, there are 2 branches to this, affective attitude and instrumental attitude. Affective attitude decides how the behaviour of another makes you feel and whether you are enjoying that or not. Instrumental attitude is what that behaviour does for you. Has it affected you in a negative or positive way, and has that experience been beneficial or harmful? Subjective norms is the support base around you as an individual from friends, family or other significance. This can be approval or disapproval. Again, this is presented by two groups, injunctive norms and descriptive norms. Injunctive norms encourage the individual's behaviour. This may be a cheer from their supporters when turning over the ball in basketball. Descriptive norms, others join in the behaviour too. Younger people may be more susceptible to this as they follow their role models, such as they may copy the way Cristiano Ronaldo takes a free kick. Perceived behaviour control is the individual's perception of their own control on the environment around them or their own behaviour. If the individual feels confident in doing the behaviour, depending on how easy or difficult it will be to control and accomplish this task, it is easier to determine how their actual behaviour will be. So scenario 3. Mark is a 17-year-old golfer who plays for a local club. Occasionally Mark plays in tournaments representing this club. This means he tees off alongside an opponent from another club. Whenever the opponent is happy with their shot, they will punch the air with their fist in celebration in front of Mark. This annoys him and brings his competitive edge in, which is a positive as Mark is very competitive and his performance thrives in these tense conditions. So Mark is showing aspects of behaviour attitudes as the opponent's celebration annoys him, which is effective attitude, but then he reacts to his behaviour by playing his best and he is competitive and wants to beat his opponent, instrumental attitude. Mark's perception of his ability grows and he becomes very confident in himself that he can achieve victory when he's competitive. So Mark also shows acts of perceived behavioural control as his perception of his control of his behaviour and ability to perform change. His mum can also determine his behaviour as she has seen him play competitively many times and knows how he is going to perform. Mark's mum and younger brother usually come to support when he plays. His mum is very, very positive and tends to clap and cheer whenever he hits the ball, as she has watched him play many times and knows Mark is very strong when in his competitive zone. His brother, as a younger player, goes off and copies the competitive behaviour of his older brother. Mark's mum and brother introduce subjective norms. Mark's mum shows acts of injunctive norm as she cheers and is very positive about Mark when he plays, and his younger brother shows descriptive norm as he copies the competitiveness of his brother.